You're listening to Tipsy Book Reads. I'm Rebecca.
I'm Raina.
And we're tipsy. Too many books on my TBR. Yeah. This podcast is like a book club for the antisocial. We make a drink inspired by the book we read and talk crap about life and fictional characters. We really hope you listen and drink along.
Side effects of listening to this podcast may include reading vivaciously, extreme bouts of laughter, tipsiness from craft cocktails, talking shit about life and fictional characters. Listen at your own risk.
Just a warning, this podcast is explicit. We are all over 21 and there are spoilers. We warned ya. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Don't we look so different? Same outfits and everything. It's totally a different day.
Totally.
So this is days later. We just like these outfits.
Yeah, it's my favorite shirt.
Well, it's a good one.
Oh, thank you.
So we are reading The Silent Patient, 23 till the end, or around 23, whatever chapter you want to call that guy.
Part 3 and 4.
2, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
2.5 through, I don't know, something
Yeah.
along those. I don't know, the last half of the book. Exactly the last half, actually.
Yeah.
And shit's hit the fan.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I'm feeling liberated, like I can talk now.
Yes, I was sweating a little bit last episode. I'm like, I just gave something away, didn't I? No, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, that's stressful. I don't know how y'all do that.
We only do it when we absolutely have to.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, we will just record one part and then
finish reading.
And then another part. Even if it means like we record in the morning and then finish the book and then record in the evening. But that's not always possible.
Well, thanks for winging it with me.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be done.
Yeah.
But yeah, so same trigger warnings as last week, which were some graphic scenes, childhood trauma, attempted suicide, murder, and if these are in any way something that you don't want to read, we can join us next week and we will read another wonderful book. And we completely understand. So we'll see you next time. But for this wild tragedy it is, its own Greek tragedy.
It is indeed.
My gosh, we had to have a good drink for this.
Yes.
So Jasmine is heavily described in this book. And something that I've always read where smell is heavily affected into your memories.
Yeah.
And because that's actually brought up in this book where she smells Jasmine and she's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then we kind of find out some things. I was looking into a jasmine cocktail and I guess that's not really a thing. So then I found out,
now.
I know, right? I found out that there is a gin made in Florida. And I didn't flip the label, so I can't see what it's called. But it'll be listed in our description that is made with jasmine, and it's so good.
And it smells amazing.
It smells so good. It has it's light, it's florally. It's like, might be my new favorite gin.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to go buy a bottle.
Yes.
It's delicious.
It's so good. It's a Florida botanical gin. And then I added 4 ounces of elderflower tonic water and lime, and that's it. We needed it to be easy this week.
Beautiful
after
and
this
simple.
wild ride that we were just on.
Yeah.
So, cheers. It's so good.
I literally just want to
Just smell it.
Which I love the jasmine element because there's so much jasmine blooming right now.
Yes.
All over my neighborhood, there's a lot. So.
Yes, in my front yard. Love jasmine.
I do too.
So I was like, what do you mean jasmine cocktails is not a thing? That's crazy.
Well, I love it. Good find.
And it's always good that it's a Florida brand.
Yeah.
Love that. So make this, and if you do, tag us in it. Let us know. Tag the brand of the gin that will be in our description. It's right there, and it's flipped. I can't see the dang label.
Yeah, I can see half of it. Not too helpful here.
Oh, well, it's pink.
Yeah.
They had 2 other kinds, too. Like a classic gin.
Yeah.
And then I want to say a more citrusy one, which would make sense for Florida. And then this one was a more floral one.
Yeah, I've had a grapefruit gin before, and this reminds me a little bit of that.
Okay, yeah, that sounds yummy. I've had grapefruit vodka before, but
Love it.
This is so good. Okay, so we have an added character that was not in part 1.
we do.
Barbie.
Oh, well, technically she was on the very first page.
That's true. You're
But
so
yes.
right. She was on the very first page.
I was like, what? But you know nothing about her. You
We
just
don't know
she's the
anything.
neighbor.
And she is
What a
literally
hoot.
a hoot, but also like when a British person explains an American,
Yeah.
this is who they like
Yeah.
stereotype as. And
Absolutely.
so I was, and then Barbie, like
I know.
it cracked me up the whole time. I'm like, I think this is so funny.
Mm-hmm. No, she was wild. And just like that classic neighbor.
Nosy little girl.
Yeah.
She's like, let's have wine. Oh, you don't want to drink wine? I need wine.
Yes. And just like talking like they're best friends. I have definitely had neighbors like that.
They're the kind that you see them out in their yard and you're like, oh, I have to get to my car.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, run.
Yeah.
And you still will
Yeah.
get caught.
Oh, bless Barbie.
You know what? She's one of the only ones that goes and sees her
I know.
continuously, even if it's just so that she has someone to listen to her that can't talk.
Right. A conveniently silent friend.
But hey, still,
Mhm.
it's pretty good. Do you have anything to say about this Greek myth? I'm sure you do.
I do.
Mhm.
Without butchering the names.
I know.
So yes, Alcestes, maybe. I
That
don't know.
sounds right.
Okay. Just how she is angry and murderously enraged, and she's been betrayed by her cowardly husband. It really lays out so much of Alicia's experience and how she comes back from death but then doesn't speak. Like,
Hello. Yeah.
it's literally
Dead
her.
on.
Yeah.
I think it's really funny that Theo goes to Diomedes
Yeah.
to ask about this Greek tragedy, and he's just like, "Why are you asking me? Because I'm Greek." Like,
Yeah. And then he's like, well, of course.
I know this.
because-
Yeah.
Unlike you British people that don't know all of Shakespeare. I know. And I am like woefully unprepared to discuss Greek mythology.
Oh, yeah.
It's not my strong point.
I do love Greek mythology, but it tends to stay within the Percy Jackson universe.
Yeah. Well, I was going to
And
say my
then-
son is reading Percy Jackson, so he knows more than me at this point.
And then after that, I have read a few tragedies. But so I do know certain stories. This
Yeah.
story I'm not familiar with at all, though.
Mm-hmm.
I also loved Hadestown, so I'm very familiar with.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's about it.
Yeah.
But I think that they do a good job with it not being like all in your face. This is something I can't really quite grasp. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
yeah.
In terms of like they showed it in a play, they showed it in the picture, and then they briefly discussed it as a book. And I like that. All
Yeah.
types of formats.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's literally her. The one thing that I was curious about from the beginning was why they didn't have her paint to start with.
I literally have that in my notes.
Yeah, me too. From the
Yeah.
beginning.
I was just thinking it's somewhere in here, but the same thought of like, why did no one think of this before?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like just somebody give the woman some paint. Clearly that is how, at her best, that's how she's communicating with the world. So yeah, give her a chance to speak in that way. So that's why I know in the last episode we were like, what is the timeline here? Like how much time went by where they were not giving her paint?
Yeah, and they mentioned that she's in a class for painting, but even there's a moment when they decide on letting her paint to get through and communicate. I forgot who it was, but whoever is in charge of the art therapy said like, oh well, oil painting is not in my budget, so obviously she's not gonna paint if it's not her medium. Like that's
It was another element of them just not trying
So true.
with her.
Absolutely. And of course, she sees it and she actually smiles
Mm-hmm.
and has a moment of like, I kind of pictured it as like a breath of fresh air. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I can communicate now.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got a lot
Yes.
to say.
She has a lot.
She's got a lot she's hiding.
Mm-hmm.
So does everyone. um, so this painting that she creates, did you, the first time you read this scene, think that he was throwing her into the fire, or do you think he was carrying her out?
The
Her out, yeah.
first time I thought he was carrying her out.
Because of the Jesus imagery, or no?
I think because he was the only person who hadn't given up on her.
Okay.
But the second read through, my view of that completely changed.
Totally. So I also agree. The first
Mhm.
time reading it through, I thought that he was carrying her out. I felt like prior to us knowing everything, he was like the replacement of Gabriel
Yeah.
in terms of like the sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I was like, oh yeah, obviously carrying her
Mhm.
out. Second time around,
Yeah.
my gosh, no.
Yeah.
Not at all. Into the fire she
He is
goes.
chucking her into the fire.
Yeah. But that's just like, I mean, everyone at this point has already obviously read to the end of this book. So even in the first part when he gets attacked for the very first time, it's because he brings up Gabriel and what happens that night. And I think that's her, because she just like looks up, like makes eye contact with
and
him
realizes
it, and then just is like,
yeah. But then I was thinking about that because okay, she like immediately is like triggered, like, okay, here's the guy. But then she goes and she's questioning herself. She's like,
yeah,
am I crazy? Is it
'Cause
really him?
she only saw the eyes, but we know she really studies eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wowzers. They got me. This story is the definition of a narrator you cannot trust.
Yeah.
Like, if in the future I ever get asked, this is going to be the book that I recommend. Like, we cannot trust this narrator at all.
No. And page to page, it's different. It's wild.
I almost feel like I'm reading like multiple personalities.
We kind of are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, I still don't, but back to the point about painting, like I don't understand why they didn't just start her off with it.
And then a leaf and the paintbrush. Talk about graphic. I literally, it hurts to think about it.
But oh my gosh, I would not obviously stab someone in the eye with a paintbrush, but I would be so livid if this painting that I'm finally communicating with, I'm finally saying
like
my piece,
completely defiled by someone.
By saying like slut and like all these things that here I am trying to get help and like my communication is being defiled, like you said, like it's being changed. My narrative is being changed, and I would be upset too.
Yeah, same.
I would not stab someone in the eye with a paintbrush.
But ouch.
Oh yeah, so bad. And then the scene after when Theo confronts Elif and she's laughing like hysterically. Creepy.
I know, and I kind of love her creepiness.
I know. I can see it. I picture it so vividly.
Yeah. She's got a lot going on in there in that mind of hers.
She's got people talking in her.
She does.
Her mind. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was another part that I was kind of like chuckling about Barbie's house being disorganized. Yeah. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I feel called out a little bit.
Cluttered Americans.
As I am cluttered.
Yes.
And he's like a disorganized mind. I'm like,
yeah. Same.
Fair.
No,
Okay,
Barbie. I know. She really, like, I would flip. I mean, I don't know if there's a character that it didn't flip flop on. Like, I kept changing my perspectives on them. And
Yeah.
one minute I'm like, oh, she's sticking up for her. She's coming to see her. She thinks she's innocent, but also like, oh my God, she's annoying.
She's annoying. She's narcissistic.
Yes. That's why she likes that. No,
She's
she doesn't.
silent.
Yeah, she just listens.
Mm-hmm. Totally true. Because I was like, oh wow, like okay, so she could trust someone to tell that
Yeah.
Alicia is feeling like she's being stalked,
Mhm.
and I'm like, yeah, someone in her corner. This girl's like, let's go to the police.
Yeah.
And no,
It was just not helpful.
Mm-mm. She's just
Yeah.
oh boy, oh Barbie. But it does kick things off in the right direction though.
Mhm.
Of some sort of truth
Yeah.
in that situation. So that's cool. Yeah, I have another note here that says, I mean, Stephanie was right all along.
Well, yeah, she was. There's a reason she's the professional. She's the manager.
She's like, duh. I knew this was going to happen.
Mhm.
Hello. But okay, do you have anything else to talk about that, or should we talk about the play that Jean Felix and Alicia goes to? I don't want to rush you in your notes.
No, I think no, the next of my notes is also talking about John Felix.
Okay.
And some of it we already touched on in the last episode of her outgrowing this relationship.
Mm-hmm. So this play is the Greek tragedy, and she has like a really intense reaction to it.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't understand why. And it reminded me a lot of I forgot what the project is called. I think it's called the Blank Face project, but it's where they put the little babies in a room and the mom was like really animated, and then the next section she just was blank faced.
Yeah.
And there were all of these people that were watching this. Like, it was introduced in a lot of psychology classes and stuff, and people were having real crying like reactions and not understanding why. And then at the heart of it, it's because that's what they experienced as a child. And I felt like that was a direct example of what like Alicia experienced, of where she saw her life and was so taken aback that that was her reaction, and like not understanding quite thoroughly yet that that was her life.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And that's a hard thing to go through, to try to process, like, okay, why is my reaction so visceral and so intense?
Yeah. With someone who doesn't care.
Yeah.
He was just like going on. We don't actually know his opinion about it because she just tunes him out. Yeah, she should.
Yeah, I'd tune him out too.
Me too. It's time to go, Jean Felix.
Yeah.
But then he warns her about the people in her life.
Yeah.
And just turns around and leaves. And that's it.
Yeah. So are we just assuming that, you know, there was this tension and this dislike between him and Gabriel? So he's just like essentially saying like, good luck with your screwed up husband? Like, what was his intention?
Motive? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I would assume yes. Who else could it be?
Yeah. Unless he knew Max too. Max, if he knew, which he did.
Oh, he did,
because,
know?
Oops, Max.
Oh, you're fine. You're good.
Max and receptionist wife.
You're so right. Maybe.
Sent him to, so maybe.
It's an all-inclusive,
Yeah.
their family list. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, because even the second time reading that through, I was like, so far, everything that has happened, there's been like a aha moment. Versus that, I'm still waiting for my aha moment.
It's a very unfinished story.
Yeah.
And there's she also says in one of her journal entries that she is afraid of John Felix.
Yeah.
But we
don't know why.
We don't get a lot more from that. And I don't know if it was just the assumption that she thought he was the one stalking her. But it seemed like there was a fear even before that began. Something uncomfortable.
Happened for sure.
Yeah.
I want to know what.
Mm-hmm.
Or do I? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. And then we never really see him again
Yeah.
until fast forward. Okay, so timeline is berserk.
Yeah.
'Cause
It's hard to track.
The whole time Theo's finding out Kathy is cheating on him was past tense.
Yeah. Which we don't know that for the longest time. We don't know
A
that.
hot minute. Like till the end.
Yeah.
That
was like.
that messed me up so bad.
Mhm.
But it was done so well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Usually when things are like that, I'm like, I don't like that. I can't follow that.
Yeah, I felt like it was a good twist, and I
Mhm.
am usually one to try to like really like guess the twist. Like, oh, I knew that already. Oh, I didn't feel that with this. I was like, wait, what? What's going on?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea until literally the reveal.
Yeah.
Which does not happen.
Yeah.
Jessica, you're going to be listening to this and be like, no freaking way, you're a liar. And then she'll be like, remember that first note you said you didn't trust the psychotherapist because he was too close?
Yeah.
I should have went with my gut.
Should have.
But I didn't actually think that he did it. Like, that's so crazy.
No, that was really wild. And I feel like even now I have to kind of adjust the timeline in my mind to try to make it make sense. But it did make sense. It was very well done. And I think that that's why this book is such a good book, because I think that there can be a lot of very tropey thrillers that you're like, I've read this before. And I didn't feel that with
Not
this.
at all. Yeah. I say we get more into this timeline after we take a little break, and we'll be right back. This is usually when we say, this episode is brought to you in part by Bird and Fable. Okay, so this timeline... Oh, we're back. Hey. This timeline absolutely threw me. So like we talked about before, is I didn't even know what was going on until the reveal.
Yeah.
Even he was going in that day and was like, Theo was like, I'm going to confront her about lying, blah, blah, blah. Are you... What?
I know, and he's like, I don't believe one word of it. Okay. Yeah, well, that really threw me, I think, because the way that he's narrating and communicating to the reader. He's like, oh, I don't believe her. There's something else there. Yeah, you're the something else there. Something else? It's you.
No, really? Like, the whole... And it made me think back when he's talking to Diomedes and he's getting his opinion on the situation, and Diomedes is like, I don't believe the whole story.
Yeah.
And he's shocked he doesn't believe it.
Yeah.
But he's not shocked that he doesn't believe the entire story. He's shocked that he doesn't believe there's someone else stalking. And it's like, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
It's because he's like, am I getting away with this?
Yeah. He really thought he was.
Oh my gosh. He was so, like you said, enthralled and just lost in his relationship.
Yeah.
That he lost himself.
It
completely.
gets really weird.
Weird and dark.
Yes, and that's one of my notes, is that when he is following Kathy, and kind of like, is she actually hanging out with her friend? And then one time she is hanging out with her friend.
Yeah.
But just like he gets very obsessive and then follows the man in the woods that we don't know who he is at that point. And you can just tell that his every what we learn is a flashback. But I didn't think it was a flashback.
Crazy.
I literally thought it was just like, oh, he goes home and then he goes and stalks his wife. Like,
I know, yeah. So his like obsessive component at that point is his wife, and then in the let's call it the now, it's Alicia.
Yeah.
So he does have this like obsessive personality disorder where he just is losing himself completely. He's crossing over boundaries. He just is not in touch with reality anymore. And so I think that comes across so clearly too in this book where we don't know what's happening because like he's out of touch with reality, so we're out of touch with reality. And that is just so freaking well written.
Yeah, it really is.
It got me. I'm still so mad that I didn't get
I know. I really do like.
Me too.
Like watching movies or reading books like with my dad as a kid, we would be like racing to figure it out first, like which one. And I was like, yeah, I didn't get it.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're the same way because I feel like I always solve things like, and I love to solve things. Like I think that's fun. I get enjoyment out of that. Like
there's I knew it. Gold stars for me.
Yes, I didn't know this and I feel like I failed.
I was like, it's a fun change because I've read other thrillers, which is not generally my first choice because I can feel like they're eye rolly. Like, oh, I already know.
Yeah, what's going to happen?
Oh, it's the sister, it's the cousin, it's the neighbor, like whatever. But that was very refreshing in this.
Yeah, it was really well done. Okay, so we figure out that it's obviously not Jean Felix. Even though I thought it was him.
Yeah.
He really just did say peace out, goodbye. It's not Max, even though he definitely has his issues.
He does.
And needs to go to therapy and figure that out.
And it seemed like the way he spoke about his brother was not the way that someone would speak about the person, like someone they murdered.
Yeah, you're right.
You feel like he would either go out of his way to be like, oh, I love my brother so much, or be kind of like sketch. I feel like he genuinely really loved his brother.
Yeah, I feel that too.
So,
yeah, that makes sense. And then Christian was still sus up until the end.
He was very sus. Like even his thing of he kept telling Theo, oh, borderlines are seductive. She's trying to seduce you. Like he was seduced by her. Like, oh, don't trust her. Like she's like this creepy siren that's going to alter your mind.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not like, a healthy view of a patient.
That and like, did he have weird feelings about her and he's just projecting?
Yeah.
That's how I pictured it.
Absolutely.
Especially when we find out Mr. Doctor has been seeing her
at his girlfriend's house.
Under the table.
Yeah.
And he could have been a key witness in this case where, yes, my patient thought she saw someone stalking. And then at the point where someone was murdered in their home, maybe we should take a look at the fact that there was someone possibly stalking them. And not only is that being said there, but hey, neighbor also said. And there's like this really blurry photo.
Yeah.
But hey, there's cool programs you can kind of make. We can kind of
they were really going out of their way to eliminate that element of the story.
Yeah. So I mean, Christian wasn't it, but he was not a good dude.
No. And even the dynamic of Gabriel, like watching her swallow her pills and saying, I'm going to take you to go see my friend. Like
very controlling.
Very controlling.
Maybe Jean Felix was onto something when he said that he was controlling.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So the other person that I thought possibly it could be was Diomedes because he was kind of like, weirdly intertwined in this.
Yeah.
And then on the day that she overdosed, he was there in the morning and then he was gone. And then no one could get a hold of him.
Yeah.
And I was like, literally, I have a note that was like, oh, he did it. He didn't, but it's sure. That's another thing is that Alex gives so many red herrings that you're like, every single one has a motive.
Yeah.
Who done it?
And that's what makes it like, what's going on? Yep.
Again, with the HIPAA laws are just being totally. There's none probably. I don't know what it is.
Malpractice.
It's really bad. It's so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, who else was a suspect at this point? I think that was. It would have been really funny if it was Barbie. If she
That
just
would've
like,
been amazing.
it would have been great because she was in it for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, by the way. But yeah, so the fact that it was Theo was absolutely wild. Unreliable narrator to the max. But yeah, the painting in the beginning when Gabriel was on the cross completely makes sense of her seeing him as a savior in the moment he didn't save her.
Yeah.
It totally broke her.
Yeah. He didn't save her. He didn't choose her. He didn't put her first. And that what the whole element of starting with her original trauma with her father.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that was gut-wrenching. And just seeing that when they, what was the wording they used? That her father didn't physically kill her, but he psychologically killed her.
Emotionally.
And
I think psychologically was the
and
correct.
It just, she was like, oh, he just killed me. And how much her original experience with her father and for someone who she's like this man that's supposed to love and protect her in this life. Yeah. And constantly seeking that validation that she didn't receive really did it. She finally snapped.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's horrible. Yeah. But it does, in a way, make sense where she also, in that moment, completely loses touch of reality. So do we think that Theo went in there to kill Gabriel, or do we think he really was just going to scare them and leave?
I think he was going to scare them and leave. I think he wanted her to know so bad. Yeah. So he wouldn't be alone in his pain. He wanted someone else to see it, someone else to feel it. Yeah. Because he did the same thing with his wife of having had this broken life and really like putting all of his stock and all of his worth in his marriage. And then when that falls apart, he has nothing left. And even just those little pieces of that inner dialogue of like that negative self-talk that he would constantly have. Yeah. And it just started taking over more and more. And my understanding was that he went there just to be like, I want you to know so you just be just as miserable as me.
Yeah. It's so strange. I think I would agree. It's so strange, though, that he kept with her for so long. Yeah. Like, he was there for hours. Whether or not we know that her view of it was correct, like, maybe, you know what I mean? We're just kind of, we're putting things together. But, you know, if that is true, he was there for hours. Chatting with her. Yeah. And then waiting for him. It is.
Oh, and that horrible moment when he's not going to come home till later. And she's like, oh, I'll see you at 8, right? And he's like, oh, I'm not going to be home till after 11. Oh, my God, of course.
And the crazy thing is she doesn't know at this point that he's probably, like, sleeping with Theo's, with Kathy. Yeah. Like, they're for sure together in that moment. And she's in this horrible danger. Yeah. And he's off doing who knows what. Well, with with Kathy. And she is possibly in her last moments. Like, she fully believes that she's going to die. Yeah. She's like, this is it. My only chance to get away was gone, taken from me. And, yeah, the fact that she just lost and it ended up being the one who ultimately took Gabriel out is so rough. I get it, but yeah.
But I really feel like, and I think it's shown too in how Theo is kind of processing it at the end. Like, okay, this isn't what he intended, but this was a woman on the edge, and you pushed her past her limit.
You sure did. And then
they both did.
Yeah. Yeah. She needed real help, not this on the side, under the table psychotherapist that didn't believe her anyways because he believes his friend, so this is just this is a biased opinion. Yeah. But yeah, it's so sad. And then I do feel like he took some sense of responsibility, and that's why he felt like he needed to help her.
Yeah.
But I think it was almost like an excuse to cover the obsessiveness.
Yeah, that's true.
That is actually going on. So I don't know. And then he just straight up murders her, or tries to. She's still alive.
I know. That's so
Book
awful.
2. Like she couldn't wake up.
That one we can connect that Anna O book because like the girl's asleep in that one, so it's kind of like,
oh my
what?
gosh! Even to that.
It's so bizarre.
That's so bad.
But
How
yeah,
is this not like all over.
I
feel
don't
like
know.
TikTok would keep that alive.
It's literally it's just the off-brand symbol. I'm telling you.
That's crazy.
But just how Gabriel too in that moment when Theo's there with the gun, and he was just so horrible and such an asshole. And he's like, "I'm gonna kill her. I'm gonna kill you." And he's like, "I don't want to die.
I don't want to die." Oh,
you're the worst.
actually, bye.
It's awful.
Ugh.
And that really broke her.
It would break anyone.
Like, okay, this is the person in the world that's supposed to choose me and is not choosing me right now.
Choose me. Pick me.
Oh man.
I just.
Yeah.
It's so heartbreaking. And I do love that all of this came to light in the last like few chapters. Yeah. I'm a big fan of like the Sarah J. Maas effect of just everything happens in the last few chapters, where it's just like,
yep.
I love that.
Yeah. And I think an interesting element too within the timeline, once we realize that we've been going back in time.
Yes.
But then when we're in the now at the end, and Theo's talking to Kathy and he's like, "Oh, my patient who killed her husband overdosed." Like, all this time, y'all just been living in the same house. You've just been hanging out. You know this about her.
She's grieving.
Yes, the person she loves is dead.
Murdered.
And nobody's talking about it, and you live in the same house, and then they're just like, that was so bizarre to me.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh yeah, my patient, oh yeah, I don't know if I heard about that. It was all over the news." We both know, you both know that you know.
Yeah, it's weird. That is so freaking weird. I mean, that was just bizarre. I love the detective showing up and acting like it was just like a social call. And then he's like, "Oh, by the way, I found this journal." Which is crazy, right?
He's like, "Let me read it out loud to you."
Yeah, this part is so fascinating. He's like, "By the way, you're under arrest."
Yeah.
But the journal, how did she get it in to the hospital though? Or to the center? Like, how did she get that journal into the center? Did they mention that? Did she hide it in some letters or something like that?
Because it was
Envelopes?
in the paint, like in the
At the
painting.
end.
Yeah. Oh, how did she get it originally?
Yeah.
Was it with the art supplies?
Maybe.
They said at some point.
So she was like allowed to go back home while she's like
That was it.
Get it out of the hiding place, put it into her art supplies. You know what I mean?
But I keep wanting to call him John Raffio, but that's from Parks and Rec.
It is from Parks and Rec. The worst.
Really a lot. John Felix. He had all of her art supplies.
Okay.
And Theo got the art supplies from him. So did he have it unknowingly, or
Which
maybe
is crazy
he knew?
the last like written thing was that she had to hide it back under or whatever, wasn't it? Or maybe I totally could be mixing that up.
Yeah, no, because she hid it.
Yeah. Okay.
In the painting, but I don't know if she had it the whole time or not.
No, I meant before the painting though. Before all that happened, like when we find out it's Theo, was breaking into her house.
She was hiding it in her house.
She was hiding it in her house.
Yes.
So who got it from the house?
That's
what I'm confused about.
I'm tracking that.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Anyways, I don't need to know.
Yeah,
but like
that is interesting.
Who got it from the house? Did she just like wander up there and?
I'm gonna go get this real quick.
Yeah, nobody sees that I'm actually very lucid at this moment.
Just gonna not speak and just gonna go get my journal.
But yeah, I love that she hid it in the painting.
and that she was able to get all that out.
Yes.
That was good. That was
fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it. What a great book.
It was great.
Good pick.
Yeah, thanks for reading
So
it with me.
exciting. Yeah, you're so welcome. Thanks for reading it with me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have anything else to say, just that this book was wild.
Yeah.
This drink was good.
Absolutely. Delicious.
And yeah, I can't believe they got me.
Mm-hmm.
He got me.
I know.
Theo. It was Theo all along. And it was Theo and also Elisa, actually. Alicia.
Yeah.
Really did murder.
I know. I would have been calling her Alicia if I didn't listen to some of it.
100%.
Alicia.
100%. Okay, so I still agree. Everyone's a Slytherin, and Alicia is a pissed off Ravenclaw.
Yeah.
Love that. What kept you home? What kept you up?
Okay, so what kept me home is getting my kids through the end of the school year. We got 2.5, 3 weeks left. And we're at that point where nobody has matching socks, half their shirts are too small.
Yes.
They're packing random things for lunch. They've been asking me to buy them Uncrustables all year, and I said no, because, I literally did the math, and I was like, this Uncrustable costs this much versus making your own peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
Mom mode. But then, you know what? I was like, fine, we're going to go to Costco, and we're going to buy some Uncrustables to get through the rest of the school year.
Listen, if it gets you through,
Yeah.
you buy those.
So that was
Uncrustables.
Yeah. No one for that. And then what's keeping me up is weird TV.
Oh, tell me about it.
I feel like the last few things that I've watched, and I was just sick, and so I think when you're have a fever and you're watching TV, it makes it feel extra bizarre.
Yeah.
But two really weird things that I've watched are Baby Reindeer,
Okay.
which is on Netflix, and then The Curious Case of Natalia Grace on
Okay.
HBO. And they are both one is a documentary and one is a dramatization of a real story.
Oh, okay.
But I just feel like there's just lots of weird shows right now. I enjoyed them both. I was sucked in, but I was also equally disturbed.
I like weird.
I do too.
But that's why we liked Mr. Magic so much. That was a really good book.
That was a good book.
And nobody I know but you has read that book.
I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, one of my things, I don't know if it's keeping me up or keeping me home. One of them, I've never watched Bones before. The show Bones.
Yeah, I haven't
And everyone said I would love it because
Yeah.
it's right up my alley. I love Criminal Minds. I loved all of that. I love weird documentaries and that stuff. And so I started watching it and I was like, I would have been so obsessed with this. This was made for me.
Yeah.
Except for a bunch of it, I'm like, that's so not. There's no way that would happen in real life.
Yeah.
I'm like, no way.
You just gotta go into this is not in reality.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But it's really good.
Nice.
So I would say that's keeping me up because I have last night when I should have probably slept before the storm, I was watching that.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got woken up by a freaking alarm because of the tornado.
And I was Googling, what is a tornado watch and what is a tornado
More warning. No,
Which one's worse?
I only knew because Weatherbug was seek shelter now.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I'm on a second story. My window is windowing. My bed is right by the window.
Window.
I need to go in a safer place.
Yeah.
And the lightning was the craziest. It looked like someone was flickering the lights. It was
wild.
crazy. So, I also did not sleep last night. I feel that. I was excited to get a coffee before this, but unfortunately the coffee shop was closed.
They closed. I go leave Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 2 p.m. and it gets me
Who does that?
every week. I've been in this shop since December. Every week it gets me. I'm like, oh,
That's
man.
crazy. That's when I need it the most.
I know.
Beginning of the week.
Yeah.
But anyways. Okay, and then my other one is I am at the end of wedding season, so keeping me home is editing all of these galleries.
Yeah.
I feel like I've lost my mind a little bit.
How many weddings have you done?
A lot.
Yeah.
But thankfully this year I took on a lot of associate jobs.
Yeah.
So that I need to just hand over the SD card and I don't have. So I would be in a lot more hot water.
Yeah.
If
So
it
you
wasn't
are doing the work
for-
the day of and then giving it
and
to
then I
the
hand
other.
it off.
Yeah.
Right now I'm at April's weddings,
Mhm.
which is not bad. I'm right on
Yeah.
track, which is exciting. But I'm also taking on all these other photo shoots and I'm like, oh, I need to schedule who gets
Yeah.
priority and stuff. But yeah, so it's a lot of looking at a computer screen. Which I don't mind,
are you
but
able to like listen to a book or watch TV while you do that?
I
Or do you
have to.
Yeah.
No, I have to, or
Yeah.
I will be so. I will not be like
Mm-hmm.
in it. So today when I was working on a lot of galleries, I was re-listening to The Silent
Mhm.
Patient, and then the other day I was listening to Bones, the TV
Yeah.
show. Someone told me I needed to try Fallout. Is that what it is? It's the Amazon show. That's
Oh.
is it not? Is it?
I don't know. I
Let
don't
me see. That was Fallout. That was not for me.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
My brother said I would love it, and it's basically a show about like a nuclear bomb went off, and all the rich people got to go into the bomb shelters,
Mm-hmm.
but they're secretly all like scientists made to be experiments, but gruesome beyond gruesome. Like,
Really?
so it's funny that we talked about a paintbrush going into someone's eye. Anything to do with eyes, I can't do. And within the first like 10 minutes, someone gets something stuck in their eye, and you see it.
Ugh. No.
And I said no. And I tried to listen to it. You can hear it.
Oh no. With the noises, my 12-year-old and my husband are currently she's watching for the first time The Walking Dead, and I refuse. And I get like it's pretty like cheesebally with the zombies, but it's the
couldn't
noise.
do it either. It's the noise.
It's all like I'm like nope. I literally have to leave the room when
because
they
I
watch
can
it.
read that.
Yes.
I can read it. If
Yeah.
Fallout was a book, I could read it.
Mhm.
Oh man, I knew I was gonna do that. But I can't watch it.
Yeah, and I have found that what I enjoy reading and what I enjoy watching are very different.
Different. Good point. Yeah.
Mhm.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. It's so much
Yes.
fun.
Aw, we miss you, Jessica.
I know, baby snuggles.
Baby snuggles. But we really appreciate it. And you're welcome on anytime.
Thank you. It's so fun.
Yay. Well, next week we have Sage from Writer's Block coming on, and we're reading the Daughter of the Moon Goddess. I believe it's chapters 1 through 20, and it's going to be fantastic. So join us then, and we'll see you later.
Bye.